Welcome back to Hotel Talk. I'm really excited because today I have with us a very interesting gentleman who I'm going to get to know alongside you guys as the listeners, who is the CEO of Mighty Kitchen, which is a vegan, plant-based meat alternative brand that is growing. Every time I look in a supermarket freezer, I see something else they're doing. George Vou is with us. He's the founder. I can't wait to hear more. So Yorgo, welcome.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you,
for being
Farah. Yeah,
here.
really nice to be here.
I'm so
We were saying,
excited.
yeah, it's great. It's great. And it's funny because we were just saying just before it's the first time we're actually meeting each other as
I,
well. So it's
I,
not
and so
no
this is
prep. It's
this
just
is
going
the
off the.
first, guys. So let me tell you something about Hotel Talk. Hotel Talk, what brings everyone together on this podcast is that I've met everyone in a hotel. It doesn't have to be St. Raphael, but a hotel somewhere. And that's what's so interesting about this industry. And obviously the podcast takes place in a hotel,
Yeah.
but this is the
Technically,
first
we've kept to
time.
that though
Well,
because
yes.
it's yeah,
Well, and we're meeting because of a hotel, because we're going to be in Amara at the end of the week
yeah,
doing an event for the Cyprus Diaspora Forum, and now we're in the
yeah,
hotel.
yeah. It
But
links. It
this was
links.
like, okay. And then obviously I know some of your team. I know Mallory,
Mm,
and I've known your company for a while. So we've been in touch, I think, over social
yeah,
media. But this was like, okay, we're going to meet end of the week. Let's do something and release it same
yeah.
week. So usually on Hotel Talk, I release, you know, 4-8 weeks after we record.
Okay.
So this is like, we're recording now, guys. It's Monday, and you're going to be listening to this midweek, Wednesday,
Pressure, pressure. We
Thursday.
have to do a
So
good job like
yeah,
that.
not a lot of editing. So yes, I'm really excited. So um, George, I want to learn quite a lot about you, but let's start with Mighty Kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, let's dive in. Your company. What is it? How did you decide to do it? And what's your vision?
Yeah, okay,
Like,
thank
what's
you.
going on?
Thanks for the intro, and it's great being here. And like, yeah, just the whole process of Mighty was, I'll do a little background of me. I mean, I've been in like sole entrepreneurship kind of for the last 12, 13 years. I was in web and mobile tech before, and about 6 years ago, I finished up with my last company. I had gone vegan 4 years before that or so.
Okay.
And so like I was
So
at
you've
this
been vegan for like,
since technically 214. I cut out meat and fish, and then the next year vegan. So it's like
okay,
my
so like 10
10-year
years.
anniversary soon.
Yeah.
Well, now 225. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those periods in your life, where you're at this crossroads. What do I allocate my time to next? And I really wanted to. I always try and mix passion with, obviously, with work. And I was getting to that point where I was really thinking, how do I do this in the best way possible? And I scanned around. I kind of had a look at where I felt the opportunities were in the market, and by chance, I was in the States at the time, and I just tried Beyond for the first
Mm.
time when it was at the Whole Foods in Boulder in Colorado.
Yeah, when it was launching.
And exactly, it was probably the first time they did a live demo, and because it's a bit more affluent, that like I got the chance to try it there, and I just thought, wow, this is interesting. And
Yeah.
when my curiosity gets piqued, I start poking around, seeing like maybe we could create that. And it took a while, to be honest. It's not like at the time there were probably 100 people in the world that understood how to go about this kind of
Well, and
business.
Beyond had the biggest launch on the stock market
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
like
those.
for I think it was 20 years, and in 20 years
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
the
yeah.
biggest.
It
Yeah.
was at the time, just first the opportunity was like, okay, how, because I believe, again, I mean, when I say opportunity and kind of passion wise, it's like, how can we kind of give momentum to
Mm.
a movement or a space that I believe in? And I felt that there are many different ways. Sometimes it's like going through helping people, cook at home, recipe books. Sometimes it's online platforms, marketplaces. For me, it felt like, what's it called, like a protein wise. There
Mm.
were many kind of traditional forms. Obviously, we have like beans and we have tofu, but I felt like it's just one of those. I love the idea of the analog because it
Mm.
gives you an easy way, and it also helps a lot at that transitional phase where you're like, I want to ditch meat, but I still want the taste, I want the protein. And so I went into this process of kind of just trying to put together the team and get the knowledge base in house. And within a couple of years after that, we ended up founding Mighty. Like, that's the short story. There's a
And
lot of in betweens,
and the
but
name, where did the name come from?
so there's an argument between me and my wife. Like, she says she came up with it. I think we liked at the time, to be honest, we were talking about
I'm already voting
how
for your
everything
wife.
is.
I'm already
Yeah,
saying it was her.
she on a
It must
technicality.
have been her.
It,
It always has to be the wife.
it
Just
was,
go with
yeah,
that.
we'll just say, like, give her credit for it, but it was something along the lines of a lot of the naming was impossible. It was beyond,
Mm,
it sounded like strong, because the
yeah.
at the time you're going up against like a very strong industry, and you want it to be something that
Mm,
matches it, and because protein is related to, like, we build muscles and it's strong.
yeah.
And then she said something about technically almighty something, and I said, yeah, it sounds a bit, and she says, I said that, but then mighty came from almighty, and it was like the
Yeah.
mighty, but then we wanted it to be the mighty kitchen, because
Mm,
you mentioned we're a plant-based meat company, but we're actually morphing out now to
yeah.
a plant-based protein company. So we're making a bunch of other
And I
products that
got to
encapture the,
try
yeah.
some of your products. I was one of
So
the
we're doing
first.
different things now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. Yeah,
So
that's where it
I'll
kind
be
of
like,
came from.
spoiler alert, the
Yeah.
best Tirokaftiri
Oh
is
yeah, you
coming to
tried
the
that stuff as
market.
well, like the secret stuff.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
secret stuff. It was good. And I
I'm glad.
actually, and yeah, I don't eat, or I've never eaten cheese. So I had this on another podcast
Ah,
with Pan
okay.
Dragomir. She's like, "What, Gotti? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry,
So
I
you
just
don't have
never
the
liked
casein
it."
addiction
So I
anyway, you
never had
know?
the casein. So that was why it was quite easy for me actually to
Okay.
do the vegan
Okay,
jump
okay.
because I wasn't addicted to cheese. But now I feel so bad when I go to someone's house and they're like, "Oh, you're vegan and we've made you, I don't know, like a
The
vegan lasagna." And
the
they've, just plastered it with vegan cheese. And I'm like, "Oh, I won't eat it."
mm,
But the zero capsidi, I was like, "Is this what it's supposed to taste like?" Because
uh,
it doesn't taste cheesy. It was just
and
delicious.
then you have
Yeah.
to verify it with the cheese eaters, and
Yeah.
then they're like, "Oh my God, it's actually,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It was
interesting."
amazing. Okay. So I like it. Mighty Kitchen. It's a great name. So I think I first came across your brand. I can't remember if I bought it in a supermarket but I remember definitely trying it, not for the first time, but the second time, being so impressed at the Vegan Fan Fest.
Mm. Yeah, we've become a bit of a state, an attraction there in a nice way,
Yeah,
you
in a
know, it's
nice way. So, and my eldest, who does eat chicken, was like, "Oh yeah, I want to have that."
uh,
And then her friends and everyone was just like, "Yeah, they loved
uh,
it." And yeah, it's just such a great. Everything about it is good. So
it's cool, and I like, sorry, you mentioned vegan fun, but I love, so for us, going back again, like we started the company, I had already been vegan. I already had like my favorite places, my favorite events,
yeah,
both here and abroad. And for me, the process became really fun fitting ourselves into that. So I
mm,
went to the first vegan fam, which was ramp. We were saying, should we go down? Is there going to be a lot of people? Of course we were going to go, but we were just questioning. So we end up turning up, and it was ramp the first time, and then we created Mighty, I think, by the second year. So I was like, I want us to be at Vegan Farm, and then talking with
I think
Anastasia,
we
and we
were
got a
next to
stand.
each other. I think our stands were next to each other
Mm,
because I think it was again, yeah, maybe it was the second, the first one we attended, but we didn't have food as a hotel,
yeah, yeah,
and then we went with burgers,
mm,
and I
okay.
remember the queue was just
Yeah, yeah.
insane. It
And
was
it's cool
great.
because people, that's what I said, like with there, we usually go with the gyro because
Mm,
it's a gateway product. People are
yeah,
familiar with gyro, so they have expectations, which we try to meet. And then they come and they're like, oh my, and it's like you said, that usually the effect is a friend will get a friend or a sibling will get this. And it's cool. I mean, it's all about people trying. And I always say, like, we're an option company. We're not, I love the idea of everyone turning vegan, but we're not there we're trying to give options for whether you want to ditch meat a couple of times a week, once a month, or like now, you know, throughout the whole fasting period. We're there for you whenever you want us. Like, we
yeah,
want to provide like a
yeah.
suitable high protein option for you
So at the
to
moment, what products do you have? You've got the nuggets, you've got
the
the chicken strips,
the
let's
core
say.
range, yeah, is like the
Hmm.
tender, the breaded tenders. We
Hmm.
have the plain strips, which are quite like, that was our kind of, as a company, the mandate we wanted to create and bring out was this. It didn't really exist on the market at the time, was like a plain strip so
Hmm.
that you can take and use like you would chicken. That's the
Yeah.
analog. So it's high protein, 24 grams of protein, low saturated fat. Calories are similar to chicken breast, like between a chicken breast and a thigh. So we have the plain strip, we have the pre-flavored gyro. So we have the
Mm.
gyro, the Greek style gyro. Then we have the meatballs, which it's the only product on the packaging. We actually label it as Cypriot meatballs because it's a bit of a fusion between the
Mm.
kefte and a plant-based meatball. So
Yeah.
we wanted to bring that out. And now, like you mentioned, we have a range of sauces coming out. We have a couple of other meat analog products coming out, which we're going to announce pretty soon. But it's
Yay.
going in a direction now where it's becoming the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So we have I mean, like we didn't have a falafel product because we felt it was done, but then we
Yeah.
got a lot of response rate from customers saying we like this stuff, so can you make this for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's expanding, yeah,
Mm.
outward. So it's cool.
Yeah.
And we
And
have good relation. Like this is sorry, the reason why we also have this, like we're essentially, we're a food technology company, but we remember that the relationship side is it's a food company, right? So we employ, like our sales team are chefs, and they speak with other chefs, and we get this feedback loop going, and we get comments on how they would like a product, and this all gets
mm.
pumped in, and eventually we bring out stuff that people are really passionate about, rather than trying to fit something into a space where we're much more unsure about. So that's been cool.
So tell me a bit about the tech side. What technology are you using? How do you make it?
Yeah,
When we say plant-based, how processed is it? What's
yeah.
what's going into your products?
So the when we say techno, I mean, it's funny, right? So we have even your favorite biscuit company,
Mm.
has a lab that
Exactly. Yeah.
people freak out with, like, plant-based. Oh my God! And again, I have no also issue trying, and there's lab grown cell-based kind of products
Hmm.
as well. When that
Yeah.
comes out and is mainstream, I have no issue, because I also understand the process. But it's not, people confuse us sometimes.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Oh my God, did you get approval for?" And it's like, guys, we don't use anything in the product that's not EU approved for the last 20 years.
Mm.
The funny thing is that, when was it? I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, chia seeds went through a harder EU approval process, because it was a product coming in from outside the EU at the time, than our pea protein or our
Yeah.
wheat protein or our potato starch.
Yeah.
So it's like this, like
Yeah. Because
we're
I've seen your
essentially,
ingredients. It is plant-based. It's
and look,
pea protein and yeah.
and it's not, um what's it called, like whole lentils either.
Mm.
Like, we're not trying to take you away from your plate of lentils and olive oil. What we always say is we target, like, our main competitor is factory farm chicken,
Mm.
which is 65 to 70% of the world's protein, or the world's chicken.
Mm.
So it's like, on one side you have protein extraction process and a high heat kind of process, which kind of turns these ingredients into a texture that matches chicken. On the other side, you have an acceptable rate of hormones,
Yeah.
antibiotics,
Antibiotics not exactly in it.
an allowance of fecal
Mm.
contamination. So it's your trade-off. So that's what we're competing
Yeah.
against.
And then how
And
do you compete price-wise? Because it's tough because
yeah, yeah,
obviously the meat industry is so heavily subsidized.
yeah.
Not because I mean, if you,
I know, and a lot of people.
it,
It's good you say, because a lot of people don't know this is like what. But again,
it is, yeah.
the
That's why it's
consumer
cheap.
cares about.
That's why you can
Yeah,
get your chicken breast or chicken legs for only a few euros,
yeah.
and you have to pay more for something else because it's subsidized.
Do you remember this a while ago, when early movie Cowspiracy came out,
Yeah, yeah,
when they were
yeah,
talking about the cost of production of a
yeah.
Big Mac in the States was $13, and the
Hmm.
cost to consumer is six. And
Yeah,
people were like, "How does that work?"
yeah,
It's because land is subsidized,
yeah.
because, like, animal husbandry is subsidized, and then it keeps getting knocked down, and you're actually paying for it with tax. But because it's not visible in the transaction, you don't think about it in that sense. So we're getting there. It's one of the missions of the whole industry, is price parity, because we don't want, and it sounds funny, but we don't want an exclusive product. It's one of my things, when I went vegan as well at the beginning. One of the things I spotted was, in all groups, not in vegan groups, in all groups, everyone's trying to create these little exclusive niches where it's like, you can come, but you can't. We don't want, like, for us, the movement's like, oops, I'm going to knock your
It's
microphone.
okay.
I told you I'd use my hands.
Yeah.
But the idea is accessibility. It's inclusive, not exclusive, right? So we're
Mm,
pushing towards that. If we look at the price per kilo, 3 years ago, it was more than it is today. I think in a couple of years' time, that there are maybe some brands in some parts of the world that are getting there. We need a little bit more time, but we're close. Like, we're not far, especially for in food service, like hotels, restaurants, cafes. We're very close now. In some markets, we're only single digit percentage points off now, and
mm,
that has to do also with the price of meat increasing in many markets, and for us trying to keep it stable, because
mm.
again, we want accessibility. We don't
Yeah,
want to price people out of being able to
exactly.
use it.
Because
So
yeah, we can tempt people as much as much as we want, but at the end of the day, if they have to pay 10 euros for something and they can get the meat
yeah,
alternative for four, they're not going to go
yeah.
for it.
100%. We
Yeah.
saw that at there's an expo in the UK, and we were
Mm.
speaking to students, and they tried, and they're, "Oh my God, that's nice." And we said, "Oh, this is your first time plant based?" And they said, "No, we buy, well, let's say the supermarket brand from." I said, "Oh, why'd you buy the supermarket brand and it's cheap?" You know, and it
Yeah,
makes
it's cheaper.
100% sense. As you're a student, you're looking for and this was also studies consistent for the last 4 or 5 years, right? What are the primary driving factors for purchasing food
Mm,
and plant-based as well? And it was taste, price, and convenience.
mm.
And funnily enough, health was, I think, about 4 years ago, it was seventh, eighth. It's every year. It's like
Getting
coming
up.
up a point now, and it might have even gone third now in their state, but it's definitely top four now. So
Yeah,
all these things come together, but if you can't afford it and you can't find it, you can't have
yeah,
any of those secondary factors.
absolutely.
So
So where are you now? Where are you on the shelves? Like, can people find you easily, not just in Cyprus but abroad?
yeah, so we're in four markets
Hmm.
at the moment. We're in Cyprus, Greece, the UAE, and UK.
Hmm.
In Cyprus, I mean, I don't, again, the listener base of it is mainly here. I mean, supermarkets
Hmm.
almost everywhere, apart from one of them which we're pushing into now. I mean,
Hmm.
like pretty much anywhere you go, you'll be able to find us. We're in a lot of restaurants and chains and stuff like that as well. In the UK, we're actually a lot in food service. So gyro as well. Like if you go in the UK and you look for a plant-based gyro and we're not
Mm.
there, tell them to get in
Yeah.
touch and we'll put it there because we're doing really well over there with that. And then just in general, Greece and the UAE is more retail
Mm.
focused as well. But
Yeah.
we're working on getting, the right products to the right places now,
Hmm.
and we're in that phase as a company where we are growing and actively looking for,
Mm.
new opportunities and placements. So
And
yeah.
how big is your team? Because so when you started off, it was you and your wife.
It was no, actually, this
What?
it was a common misconception. My wife and my co-founder are two separate people,
Okay,
so that
that's all
so
right. That's
it's
okay. It
funny.
happens. It happens in life. But yeah.
So me and my wife were at the stage of like, okay, let's think of a name.
Yeah.
She always claims the role of chief taste tester, right? She's tried every version, even from version one, where we were experimenting with we used, sorry, little side story, we used lentil protein at the beginning. We were
Yeah.
trying to use lentil protein, and lentil protein's quite it's probably good actually for a cheese because it's quite sticky and
Yeah.
it's gooey, and you can get different textures. But I remember the first time we made the product and we were like, oh my God, to our friends, try this. Doesn't it taste like, and I was so invested in it. I was like, doesn't
Yeah.
it taste like chicken? And everyone was like, I felt they wanted to put their arm around and be like, look, it's
It
nice,
tastes
but
good,
it's
but it's
not.
not chicken.
And then I was like, okay, thanks for the feedback. And we go through and the iterations and so on, and we get to where we are today. But with Luisa, co-founder Luisa, we started together. It was the two of us, and then slowly over the years we grew the team a bit. We're still only 9 people. I mean,
Well,
it's
that's not
not.
only. That's still. I mean, that's a good
Yeah,
size.
it's I
Yeah.
guess for where we are now. But I mean, in terms of what we want to do, we'd love to grow up. But it's a gradual process,
Mm.
right? We're maxing out
Mm.
everyone's skills and
Yeah.
capabilities, and then growing
I
as
love
we go
that.
along.
And where do you see yourself in like 5 years' time?
Um, Look, we want to be, if not the number one, like a top three option for plant-based, not only plant-based protein, specialized plant-based vegan products, and also we're seeing a little bit of interest in the service side as well. So we, it's right conversation I have like on a, if not daily, weekly basis. Okay, you go into a place. There's a lot of goodwill from restaurants, hotels, and so on to get an option on the menu, but they're like, at some point, they're like, this is 3 to 5% of my menu. Why do I need to? I have an option. I have a spring roll. I have a veggie burger. I have a something, and it's like, look, the expectations of your consumer are rising. It's not, and we always say this, like, it's not necessarily to please like me. As your vegan consumer, it's because like by default, like it or not, me or my wife or yourself, like you dictate where the group goes now.
That's what I
Because
always say. The minority leads the majority
and
in
that's
case of
because of your
restaurants.
friends are like,
Hmm.
oh, I can eat anything. What does
Where do
George want?
you go?
Yeah, what does
Yeah,
Farah
where
want?
can
What
you
does
go? Exactly. So
and
if you're 10 people, everyone will be like, look, we're happy with whichever restaurant we go
yeah,
to. But at the end of the day, where does the vegan in the group needs,
yeah,
where can they eat?
yeah, yeah,
So if they go somewhere and there's a good option, then you are selling. So when you look at the menu engineering, I always say this to
mm,
not just our teams, other people,
mm,
look at it and you might say, yeah, but I sold 100 steaks
mm,
and I only sold
yeah,
10 of these, whatever, chicken tenders,
yeah.
vegan chicken tenders. Yeah, but you sold the 100 steaks because you sold
Well,
those
look where
10.
look at what your ticket is
Mm.
buying. So if you have like a vegan dish and it comes, like you said, with six steaks, that
Mm.
ticket was probably going to go somewhere else if you didn't have a
Yeah.
good option. And it's hard because again, it's like show me the debt. Like let me run a pilot with you and we can have a look at the debt. What were you selling before and what you're selling now?
Yeah.
But the yeah, for the vision of where we are and where we're going, it's like we have a lot of customers that it's a small part of the menu. We try to convince them. There are others that are like, this is what I would do. What would you do? And because our sales team are chefs, they sit with them and they say, look, it's this is nice. This is very standard. Like we can help you. And as part of the onboarding process, we'll sit and if they want, again, it's like very like chef driven. So if they say like, let's do a few recipes together and we'll see what we like. And that's how we're going about our business. So the just being the number one option as a company when you want to add something, change something, create something for your menu as a restaurant, hotel, like anyone in Horeca, is a big part of what we're doing.
Mm.
Of course, we have the retail. For us, it's a bit different. We started food service first, versus because we felt that was where the opportunity was. Although it's a little bit more laborious, it's where like we got the most traction early on, and retail is kind of piggybacked on that. And because we just have a bunch of like new interesting products coming to retail as well, we'll eventually branch out
Mm.
into more retail.
And when you say like one of the top, do you mean in Cyprus? Do you mean in Europe? Do you
No, we
mean
never
in,
talk about Cyprus
yeah.
only because I love. I mean, it's arguably one of the best places to start a business. But my previous companies were we started a company out in Denmark. We were like Europe facing. We started a company in the States. We were
Mm.
looking at the world. Doesn't matter where I mean, we always say this because I do a lot of like early stage entrepreneurship work. Cyprus should be viewed as an amazing place to start business and as a city in like if you were in the States, let's say like
Yeah.
Cyprus to London is New York to San Francisco to LA.
Yeah.
So you look at it in those gaps. Your market is outward facing. In most cases, you don't have to be limited by. Even for us, we're a product company.
Hmm.
We don't need to be limited by the space. And I think it's just such a. I just have so much confidence in what we're doing that I think we have to look outwardly in order to do the best job
Mm.
we possibly can. So yeah.
Mm. Amazing. So you, tell us about you.
Hmm.
Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in. I was born in the UK. And it's funny, everyone's like London. Like, no, Western Superman. So I was born in a little town just outside of Bristol. Grew up there from Cypriot parents. Like my grandfather was the immigrant story. 50s, went with $5 in his pocket,
Mm.
worked in chip shops. Built up to the point where he could rent his own space, had his own restaurant. Then that
Mm.
kind of story. And we grew up there, and that was actually in Bristol. And then he moved the family, well, his son, my dad, down to Western, where he ended up meeting my mom, and then we grew up there.
Is your
I
mom Cypriot as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mum was actually living over here when they met, so it
Mm.
wasn't like she grew up. Yeah, they met,
Yeah.
went over there, and so on. Born there, I have a brother and a sister. We all moved. I say back, but we moved to
Yeah.
Cyprus when I was 18. They moved a couple of years later and ended up going. I mean, I actually when I was younger, I wanted to play pro sports. So my thing here was I came over first of all for football. So I was playing football here, and then my
Who are you playing with?
I was playing for Ethnikos Athens
Okay.
back then, and my deal with my mum was like if I didn't think I was going to go pro sports, I would go to uni. So like that was always she let me do my thing, and then she was like, "Hey,
And
you're
so
not
what
gonna,"
happened? So you did the
and I
sports
went
or
to
you
uni.
went to uni?
I ended up going to uni, but I ended up also doing on
We're
a
back to mothers,
yeah,
wives. We're
yeah,
always right.
yeah.
What can we
Well, no,
do?
and look, I appreciate it was always the option, right? So it's like I back you, I support you,
Yeah.
but if not, you do this. And then in the end, with football, ended up paying for like chunks of my scholarship. So I
Okay. Yeah.
used
Yeah.
it worked for
You see,
something.
mum?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was my little thing. She said, just go study. And
And where did you study?
I studied so I actually did college in the UK, and then I did University of Nicosia when it was
Okay.
inter college back then.
Yeah.
So I was there. I loved it. Moved back down, moved to Larnaca afterwards, ended up met my wife in a job that I took to pay off for a loan for a business that I started too early.
Mm.
If that makes
Yeah.
sense. So it's like,
Yeah.
they say
But
out of
meant to
mistakes
be.
make the
Yeah.
Grew up there. I mean, since then, married, 3 kids, 2 dogs.
Oh,
Started multiple businesses, like whilst being in that relationship as well. So
yeah. Tip, 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 living
it's
the dream.
yeah,
You got
well,
a station wagon as
just
well?
we actually recently, I say that last year we bought so Anna, my wife, she's like she goes, I don't care about how it looks. She's like, we need space. And I said, I don't care
Yeah.
how it looks. And we got this Nissan Serena that's like eight,
Amazing,
9 seater.
amazing. You
And
see?
people like, how many kids? I said, look, I have 3 kids, I
I
have
hope you've
two
got some
dogs,
Wellington boots as well, like leftover
everything,
from England.
biggest
Yeah.
like increase, quality of life, like upgrade ever, like just having that space to
That's
put
so
everyone in.
cute.
Yeah.
And why did you go vegan?
So the beginning story. So my brother was the first one, and
Oh,
he,
I love it when it goes to the wider family. Okay, is he
yeah,
older, younger?
younger.
Okay.
And so my brother's really like we used to after football dinner we gym a lot, we do sports together and stuff.
Hmm.
And he was like, we were really into obviously self-improvement, trying to figure out ways that we could optimize, hack the body, and he started fasting before Christmas properly,
Mm.
because we always used to do the last week, the last few days.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm going to fast. I said, okay, cool, good for you. And he said, after 2, 3 weeks, it's like, I'm not just eating bread, I'm doing it properly. And I feel like my recovery time is better after gym. I said, okay, good for you. I was just like, and then at Christmas, I remember the scene, like the Christmas day that he lasted 40 days before Christmas. And then it was him
He came out
sitting.
ripped.
No, 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 not. It's not one of these. No, it'd be like, oh, before he was a
Yeah,
slob, and then
yeah,
he was in good shape. He stayed and maintained his shape, but he sat at the end of the family table, because it was only salad,
yeah,
potatoes, and stuff. What is there for Andrea? He sits there. And for me, it's like and then he dragged my cousin along with him, younger cousin as well. So he started getting into it. And at some point, when people I respect and love are doing things, and they're not overly pitching it to me, they're just like, oh, this is interesting.
yeah,
I'm gonna get sucked into, at least read and
yeah,
understand, and then dismiss or approve in my own head. And so I did, and I was like, "This is really interesting." Because at the beginning, when Andrea was doing it, I was like, "Animals die anyway. There's no point. You can't get enough
yeah.
protein." I was like, all this stuff. So I was
The
wired like
typical,
that.
yeah.
And so afterwards, after Christmas, I started cutting out meat a couple of times a week, and then I started 3 times a week, and then I ditched. But within 6 months, I ditched meat completely. And then my wife was actually vegetarian for 8 years before she met me,
Mm,
and we met over souvlaki cheftalia, right? And so when I was doing this, she was like, that makes sense to me. I did this before. I didn't eat meat for so then she cut out and we
mm.
started doing it together. And then fish went. And then so I did it over the course of
Yeah,
6 month
slowly, yeah,
periods
yeah. Which is
where I
better
cut
for your body
everything.
anyway, yeah.
um, I felt good. I started seeing this, and it's funny because this is the conversation when every interaction I have, okay, and I say I'm vegan, people are like, no, I could never do that. I'm like, there is no way you are a bigger meat eater than I was. That I used to eat everything like everything. I used to order
Mm,
souvlaki 4 times a week. I'd go into Alfamera and buy 300 grams of like tuna and salmon
mm,
raw and just cut an avocado, and I would eat everything, man. And because I just got invested in that process of like, okay, there's a bit of selfishly at the beginning, but I remember after
we've
nine,
all got
10,
our, yeah.
that was my initial push.
Hmm.
But the part where the animal welfare side kind of hit me is that I have 2 dogs. They're 11 years old, and they're called Bear and Peanut. Anyway, mention if they hear the podcast. So they're they're mixed labs. And when Bear, like my black and beige black lab, lies down, he lies down in a way where he's fully extended and stretched out. And I was driving past the butchers, and I see the pigs like that. I'm like, oh fuck, it looks like Bear. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it hit me in that moment. And then again, research. I was like, what's the average IQ of a pig and a dog? Can they feel emotions? And it
And
sucked
the
me in
pig is
because
cleverer.
higher IQ, able to
Yeah,
form friendships, family bonds, blah blah blah.
yeah.
And it sounds silly. You see someone like a majority of your audience will probably think that I knew this, and all of us at that time maybe
I don't
didn't.
know if
And it,
everyone does, or even if they do, they don't want to acknowledge it. So it's really
mm,
easy to validate what you're
yeah.
doing. Um,
And this
yeah,
isn't a
by
hardcore preach for me. It was just like my own kind of discovery process
hmm.
was like that. And I'll admit at the beginning when all this information was and I realized this, I was a bit maybe intense in the first few months around my friend groups. Did you know? Did you know? And then you start realizing that actually everyone is kind of on a similar path. You almost deliberately shield yourself from the uncomfortable stuff Because, so example of this, I told you, somebody sent me an article about something about coffee a few years ago,
Mm.
saying the unsustainability of coffee, and I was like, la la la, because if I get
Yeah,
into it and I cut out, like that was my choice to try and ignore. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if there's validity or not, but I mean, I was
mm,
just trying to protect myself from like not
yeah.
having to ditch.
And people become very defensive because it's what they know.
Mm.
And I think it's more deep rooted than that because it's what our parents taught us.
It's identity.
So
Food
when people are
is,
like, oh, but what you're eating is wrong,
yep,
then it's not just your choice. You're like, that was my parent. My parents drummed that into me,
no,
and their parents drummed that into them. So you're telling me that my dad's wrong, my mom's
yeah,
wrong. Like, who are you? And suddenly the chest
yeah,
puffs out,
yeah.
and people get very
But
upset.
you know
And
what's funny about that is that everyone, including
mm,
us, do that for other subjects.
mm,
So we're like, oh, my dad was so hard on me. I'm not going to be that parent. So
yeah,
you're making a change where you've come to the realization,
yeah,
but food's incredibly. I'll say this is it's incredibly difficult and it's very emotional. I
mm.
mean, even with professionals, the pushback we get sometimes is just like, who are you to tell me? So I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah. I'm just suggesting,
your
or
customers may want
yeah,
no, and it's
yeah,
okay. I mean,
yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's famous chefs around the world that said, I don't want vegans
mm,
in my place. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah, I
like,
know.
okay, then you miss out on that market,
Yeah,
or
it's
yeah.
okay again if you're not a great like it's just one of those things that I understand some of the friction at the beginning, but I also think there's so many worse things. I mean, it's it's
Oh
not.
yeah, who's the extremist as well? It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a big topic, but I think what you're doing is amazing.
mm,
Um, I was going to ask you, how do you see like all the, from the tech side and the industry that you're in? I mean, you mentioned lab grown meat.
mm,
There's, 3D printing now.
mm,
There's just so much going on
yeah,
that is amazing, and the industry is changing so rapidly, and it's
yeah.
really exciting. Have you seen any tech coming out that you're like, wow, like watch this space. This is gonna revolutionize how we
Like
eat.
there's interesting stuff, but I think for me it's always and our space kind of proves this that there's a balance between at the end of the day it's food. So if I tell you that similar machinery is used to produce like Cheerios 50
Mm.
years ago than what we produce our product on now, it's not too
Hmm.
dissimilar. It's just used for a different purpose in a different
Well,
way.
I'm pretty
And
sure what you're producing is healthier than
yeah, yeah,
Cheerios.
I'm
So
just
yeah,
saying
I'm like
for
everyone.
but for
Sorry, I want to
example,
explain
and I
that.
can use other things. I can use pasta. I can use
Yeah, yeah,
the method
yeah. The
is
method,
very
yeah.
similar, but it's not about. It's also about the production and education side
Mm.
because we're in food. So if somebody you can make the absolute best thing in the world, and if somebody's not willing to give it a try, as such, it's gonna like fall on deaf ears. So it's just that balance
But
of
in studies, they have proven that, let's say processed, or it's mildly processed plant-based
mm,
alternatives to meat. Let's say, if there's three
yeah,
different scales, so there's the green light food, the amber light, and the red light,
yep,
and things that you're making, for example, are in the amber. So
yeah,
it's not. I mean, we're not supposed to eat them 3 times a day, but
yeah.
when you do want that taste, it's okay. It's like
It's
it's
absolutely
healthy. It's a treat.
proven.
It's not like
Yep,
eating an apple, uh, but
exactly. Like
it's still and the red light that is like don't touch are the red meat, the processed meats.
yep,
So if you have a choice of one of your products, or even
yep,
a Beyond or Impossible,
yep,
or a normal burger,
yep.
by far yours is the healthier option.
It absolutely depends on like, again, all burgers aren't equal.
Yeah.
So there are and again, like taking away my, animal
Mm,
kind of welfare side, I say there is meat that you will eat that's absolutely okay and probably not going to do anything as part of a balanced diet. There's other
mm,
products that you eat which are absolutely terrible, but it's how willing are you to acquire the knowledge where
mm.
you can separate those. And so for us, again, we're an ingredient, right? So it would be silly in the same way that when I
Yeah,
ate
sure.
meat.
Someone plasters it with mayo,
But
and
yeah,
yeah, like
but
yeah,
that's exactly it. You can take our chicken strips, you can cut your wok fried vegetables, you can make your udon noodles, bit of soy sauce, and it's like amazingly healthy meal. You can get it and you can deep fry the crap of it. You can put
yeah,
your panko on it, you can, like you said, mayo, get all the sauces in the world, and suddenly it's 1,200 calories and it's half your daily allowance
yeah.
as an athlete, and it doesn't work. So we're an ingredient. If you want something, we work with customers who have us at the burger shop, and they have like the breaded tenders as a dipping box.
Mm,
On a Friday night, I'm probably going to order like 8 of those and just have them in with my burger
mm,
on the side. On a Monday evening, Tuesday evening, I'm going to go the other way and do my
yeah.
noodle box. And so this is what we're trying to encourage. Like we're an options company. We want people to, we'd love to have people integrate into part of like living a better lifestyle for themselves, but that's their
And
choice.
it's better for the planet, everyone.
Yeah.
That's why Beyond and Impossible have done so well around the world.
Mm,
And because that's the aim of a lot of the companies
yeah.
that produce alternative to meats is that, even for the people who are still having their salmon and their chicken and their burgers, but at least one of their meals a week or two or three
Yeah.
will be these alternatives, which
Yeah.
needs a lot less water, a lot less energy. The carbon
Yeah.
footprint is so much lower. It's better for you, better for the planet, and just better for the animals. So
Mm,
that's my.
of
You're being
course,
very
better for the
PC, but I'm
animals.
like, just do it. Um, okay, so what's your favorite quote? I ask everybody this.
You said, I remember when you said this about quote or mantra or something. So I have one
Yeah.
thing that I hammered on about for years, and it's basically principle over preference, right? So and I write it as like a greater than
Mm,
sign. It's like my thing that principles take time to develop, to nurture, to kind of sit in your mind, and they're not easy to change. And you have to really question yourself if you're trying to weave in or out of a situation that forces you to even like
mm.
slightly alter your principle. Whereas preferences are just reflect like responsive, reactive in the moment, and they're so easy to do. Like, oh, I just feel like this today, or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go to the gym, or I'm not.
Path of
So
least resistance is
yeah,
the
for me, it's
easiest. Yeah.
principle over preference
Yeah.
always.
I
Yeah.
love that. Right. Bonus question.
Oh, is it?
This is not from me. So the team at Cinema Resort, they all get to write a question
Okay.
and put it in this crystal
Crystal ball.
ball as the yeah, and yeah. So we'll see what you got.
Ooh. If you had to describe yourself using only 3 words, what would they be? This is
Mm,
from Natalie Mealing or Healing?
Mealing,
Mealing.
yeah.
If you had to describe yourself using only 3 words, what would they be? Um, mm, you're gonna need to edit this. I'm gonna need like 3 seconds.
Don't worry. It's a
Three
tough
words
one. We get tough
is
questions.
I'm trying to find the right word. I say that when people like any kind of interaction you have with me, I think you'll get honesty from me. Um, and not that kind of brash put you on the spot honesty. I mean, I'm
Mm,
very transparent
yeah,
in that
authentic.
sense. Authentic, bravo, that's a nice word.
It's
Thank
a
you, you're
nice
helping me.
word.
As a authentic, I would say driven. Um, and I would say I don't know, either passionate or thinker, one of the two. Like I don't know which one,
Mm,
but I'd say those
yeah,
three
passionate and driven. Yeah,
probably
similar.
crossover.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but it's still yeah,
something that's a good. Okay, if it was two, I would have like settled quicker. But
yeah, and maybe just a good person.
yeah, I'd like to think. I
Also,
mean,
like
that's for
sometimes the
others
simple is
to
the
judge, but
best.
it's
Yeah,
just yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to cooking on stage with
Oh yeah,
you
the
at
event.
the Amara Hotel this Friday. Do you know what you're making, or can you not say?
Well, I think we're also trying to draw some inspiration from. We saw some of your sneak peek of some of your recipes, so we
Yes.
might marry
Oh,
some
please
bits
do.
over
Please do.
there. I think there's a few things. There's a bow that the guys are looking at. There are some. So there's
We're
so
gonna
many
have
things you can do.
fun.
So
Yeah,
and
so it's gonna be us. It's executive chef of Amara.
yeah,
It's the master chef. Yeah, coming over from America.
yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So
Anything with
yeah.
food's always
Yeah,
fun.
we'll have fun on stage. And I don't know how they're going to set it up with enough space for us to cook.
Mm,
And as I said, I would have just come back from London,
mm,
literally straight from the airport. So I'm just
same
going
day.
to, like, same moment.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
flying in just in enough time to, like, get from Larnaca
Time's good though.
to
You'll be hungry.
Yeah, well, I'm just exhausted. So I'm probably going to be on stage with, like, black eyes and, like, and just, yeah, making. But we'll have fun.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
have
it'll be good.
fun. And I think we're all cooking with your ingredients with Mighty Kitchen.
Uh,
So it'll be nice because I think there's like 4 different stations. So we'll see
for
what
us,
we
it's
make.
always cool just to see what people, like I said, we're in ingredients. So when every interaction we have with people, it's like
Yeah.
we learn about stuff that they're like, oh, we'll put this kind of sauce, or I use it in this way. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
And
cool,
just
we've
like
never
the
done it.
audience, just to interact with them, share with them what we're making, why.
Yeah,
Be fun.
it will.
All right. Thank you so much, my dear. Just I'm about to cough.
I think.
All the best.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me,
And see
and
you very soon. And
in a
best
couple
of
of
luck.
days. Thank you. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it helps us more than you may realize. If you are planning on coming to visit us at St. Raphael Resort and Marina, feel free to email our reservations team quoting Hotel Talk and receive an exclusive offer just for you. We look forward to seeing you soon, hearing your feedback about our show, and producing many, many more interesting episodes just for you, our listener, and our valued guest in mind. Thank you so much, and take care.